Hello, everybody. Welcome to our Bluechip IT NZ webinar, our first real webinar for the year, and it's actually going to be a pretty exciting one as we've got three panelists here from some of our managed brands who are going to be discussing cybersecurity trends for 2024. We're going to give it about 2 more minutes, so if you can just be patient, we're just waiting for a couple more people to join on. But we will kick off. So grab yourself a drink and we'll start shortly. Well, I think we've given everybody enough time to jump in. So my name is Tyron. I'm the Senior Product Manager here at Bluechip IT. Two of my brands are being represented in this webinar, that is Sophos and Cybersecurity. And Managed Protect, I have had a good relationship with during my last stint here at Bluechip when they were one of my managed brands at the time. So we've got an incredible panel who's agreed to join us. So just a couple of housekeeping tips. We will be taking questions during the course of the webinar. You can find that on the left-hand side of your screen under the Q&A tab. So feel free to pop your questions in there. We'll run through those at the end. Unless one of you guys has a really good question that pops up that's relevant to one of the questions that we're discussing, at which point I'll read it out for you. And if you do want someone specifically, Tony, Andrew, or Richard to answer it, just make sure you tell us who, and we'll get them to answer that question for you. So today on our webinar, we have Andrew from Managed Protect joining us, Richard Tran from Cybersecurity, and Tony Cosma from Sophos. So I'm going to pass over to them now. Let them just give you a brief introduction of who they are. And after that, we'll jump into our questions. So Andrew, do you want to kick us off?
Sure. Thanks, Tyron. I'd like to think that we still have a good relationship in this iteration of your journey as well. Managed Protect, we've been working with Bluechip, Infotech, or SOSOL, as we affectionately know them, for, I think, since about 2010 has been. Basically, what we do at Managed Protect is we make cloud easy for MSPs historically, and particularly over the last 18 months, 2 years, it's been very much about making cybersecurity easy. So as a business, we bring best of breed cloud security technology into the ANZ market. And we make it better through providing the local support, the local training, local onboarding, to basically make this stuff easy for MSPs across ANZ. All right.
Awesome. Thank you, Andrew. And you're right, we do have a great relationship still. Richard, if you want to do a short introduction.
Well, thank you, Tyrone. Good morning. My name is Richard, and thank you for inviting me today, Tyrone. Calling you guys from sunny California here in the United States. And thank you for the partnership. So I'm representing Keeper Security today. Keeper Security is the leader in the cybersecurity space. We're providing access management solutions, security, architecture, password management. We have secret management. We have control system that manage all your connections. So we provide a pretty comprehensive cybersecurity, protect any digital assets you may have. I'm looking forward today to having a further discussion with you here.
Awesome, Richard. Thank you very much. And yes, we're very excited to actually be distributors for Keeper Security now, both their annual subscriptions, and now, as of the end of last year, we are now able to provide the MSP products as well, and they're proving to be a really popular choice for privileged access management and password management. And finally, I'm going to pass over to Tony, and that's another relationship that we've been incredibly excited about and working hard with. But I'll let Tony take it from here and talk to you about himself and Sophos.
Tyrone, yes, indeed, work in progress. Hi, everyone. I'm Tony Cosma. I'm a technical sales engineer at Sophos. And look, I've spent 2 decades in the IT field across Europe, Australia, and New Zealand. And I had a chance to really deep dive into cybersecurity landscapes. And look, my real passion lies in unraveling how adversaries operate and collaborating with clients and partners to really craft robust defense solutions. I'm really thrilled, by the way, to be here today, and explore with my colleagues how we can innovate and strengthen both IT and security solutions together.
Thank you, Tony. And yeah, exactly right. Your experience is going to be really topical today when with some of the questions that we're going to be covering off. And just to the three of you, thank you very much for taking the time to be here and share some of your knowledge with our partner base. So without further ado, I'll kick off with our first question. And again, everybody, just a reminder that if you do have questions, just pop them into the Q&A tab and we will read those out. So first question we have for you guys today is, how has the cybersecurity landscape evolved over the past few years? Both trends that you've seen locally in Australia, New Zealand, and globally, and what sort of trends are you seeing? What current trends are you actually seeing? And I think we'll start off with Richard.
Well, I cannot speak for the New Zealand, Australia region because I'm more or less based here in the United States. But from the global perspective, for the past few years, we experienced something that nobody's seen it in the past before, right? We call COVID. And we saw the landscape that we have a lot of people working remote. Nowadays, we have a kind of mixture between remote and hybrid in office and then remote. So the cybersecurity is somewhat a must now, right? You want to have ability to have visibility where your people are and what kind of device they have access to. And so that's why cybersecurity is something that at Keeper, we always want to be a forefront of any organization. Whether you're a small business or a large organization, we want to make sure that we fully protect you, right? So working remote, that's something that we concentrate on. We want to make sure that the user have the ability to protect the assets. The company organization also have ability to protect the assets. And from the management standpoint, we want to make sure that you have the ability to have visibility, for basically everybody, no matter where they are in the world. So that's something that we're looking at cybersecurity from perspective that whether you're in a hybrid environment, remote, or desk, office environment, we have all the different solutions for you to take a look at.
Awesome. Thanks, Richard. Tony?
Actually, I really enjoyed how Richard pointed out how COVID, and look, could have been anything else, to be honest. In my opinion, it's just accelerated a trend already in place to really decentralized idea of a business. As before, we had the very confined spaces where we knew where the business is. But right now, any employee can be anywhere. You just open your laptop and there is a branch, and it really it changed the way we operate cybersecurity in general, and then that came originally as a challenge for everyone. And to top up that idea of decentralized businesses, I think it's kind of universally acknowledged that adversaries we're up against not really only grown in number, but also really refine their skills to execute what we call advanced persisting threats. And that really poses real challenges for defenders in general. And I think this is some of the topics that I'm hoping we're going to focus on today. Now, look, one of the things is going to come up in most of these discussions is, and everyone is talking about ransomware and data exfiltration, and those are very valid points for what we call action on objectives. That's the goal. On the other hand, we've seen that eventually those activities need to be monetized. And one very interesting aspect, especially in the ANZ space, but look, I don't think this is really relates to ANZ exclusively. It's pretty much valid for points for anyone. When we look to understand the repercussions of cyber incidents, they really extend beyond just losing your data to ransom. And the potential for business disruption on one hand, and the damage to your business reputation can be equally detrimental, in my opinion.
And you're exactly right. You touched on a couple of good things there, Tony. One was how we went from slowly adopting remote work and working out security processes for that, and COVID all of a sudden accelerated that beyond anybody's scope to deal with it. And now we're kind of rushing to catch up. But yeah, you're right. Beyond just the damage to the business from a security standpoint, I think you touched on it there, that people easily forget how much damage can be done to a business for your reputation, and how hard it is to repair a business versus how compared to something like just recovering your data, for example. So having that proactive security is important.
It is important when you qualify risk, and I think all my colleagues agrees here. But when you qualify risk, you need to take into consideration all these potential, the way it's going to affect a cyber breach. And I would, really encourage every single business to go through an exercise to understand even business disruption. Just put your business offline for an hour, for a day, for a week. How does it translate to you as a business? And for most businesses, I'm now talking from my experience in the ANZ space, that can be the end of business.
100%. And yeah, Andrew, anything to add to that question?
Yeah, certainly, and I think some great responses. Tony, I agree that like some of the statistics recently have showed that up to 50% of businesses that are basically a target of a cyber attack do in this SMB space, which of course in Australia and New Zealand, we have such a large SMB community. It's an existential event. When they get attacked, they can go out of business very easily. Look, I think what we've seen, and like we spend a lot of our time with MSPs, understanding their world, understanding what's going on for them. And what we've seen happen is, I'm a huge advocate of cloud. I love cloud technology because it allows small to medium businesses to do so much more. And the funny thing is that same ability also allows cyber criminals, bad actors, to do so much more. So what we've seen happen over the last couple of years in particular has been really the onset of attack as a service, ransomware as a service, which has commoditized the ability for almost SMB criminals and to be able to say, okay, well, we actually don't need to know everything about launching a ransomware attack. We don't need to understand this technology deeply. We can bring this on as a service and we can attack a large volume of users. Now, if I'm attacking a large volume of users, I'm going to attack those users who have the weakest cyber posture. And what we've seen happen over the last 18 to 24 months is really that shift from the cybersecurity target being more your critical services, which has been from larger political actors, to more financially based attacks, which have been targeting small to medium businesses across Australia and New Zealand. The other result of that is we've seen a cultural shift within the MSPs. We've seen managed service providers going from a position where, and historically, MSPs have always dealt with security. They've dealt with firewalls, they've dealt with passwords, they've dealt with physical security routers. But all of a sudden, so cybersecurity has become very daunting. And a lot of the products that have first come into the cybersecurity market, they've been enterprise-focused products. They've been point products. And what we found is that those point products, an MSP will bring a solution on. They'll go, okay, I have an anti-phishing solution. This will fix the problem of cybersecurity for our customers. And then it's, oh, actually, no, we need more. We need to train them. We need a security awareness solution. We need another solution. We need to look at Microsoft 365 audit logs. We need a SIEM. And all of a sudden, these poor MSPs are trying to manage like this platform that they've created of 7, 8, 9, 10 different solutions. And it's become overwhelming for many of them. And from that perspective, we've spent a lot of time over the last 18 months trying to simplify cybersecurity for MSPs. Because otherwise, we've seen a number of them just go, you know what, cybersecurity, it's not my thing. But if it's not the MSP's thing, well, who's going to take care of it for SMBs?
100%. And seen some a lot of statistics lately just about how many SMB clients just don't believe that they're a target for any kind of cyber attack. Even now, I was reading an article that said that that's probably the biggest security risk, is how many people don't understand that they're that they're potential targets.
The recent
already compromised to that extent.
I was just going to say the recent study done last year across ANZ, and I think it was like over 45% of small to medium business owners, and small to medium business owners aren't hugely IT literate. They focus on doing whatever they're doing. They didn't even understand the term phishing. They hadn't heard it before. So I think what you're saying is very true. And with some of our partners who we've spoken to about cyber over the last 18 months, the scary thing is some of them have looked and said, you know what, our strategy for cyber is, well, we tried to sell it to our customers. They just don't get it. So we just have to wait for them to get breached, and then they'll buy from us. And the statistics actually validate that approach, as in, I think it's 75% of businesses, once they've been breached, will invest more into cybersecurity. But prior to that, there's just I think the average was under $500 a year that they would invest.
That's an interesting approach to that as well. Sorry, Tony, you were saying something as well?
Yeah, look, I just wanted to point out that I love Andrew pointing to that people think, or businesses think, that everything is so targeted. We're talking about targeted attacks, but as we run one of the largest managed detection and response services on the market, I was talking to my colleagues and they said, actually, most of the cyber breaches are very opportunistic. Once they get in, they will switch to a very targeted actions, hands on the keyboards, and try to move from there. But most of the cyber breaches we investigate, it started as an opportunistic attack.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It is the sort of the trend. It's opportunistic. They've seen a weakness, they've seen a vulnerability. And I think we can actually spend the rest of the webinar talking about this one question, but I will move on to the next one. But this one's kind of related to that. So what are the key cybersecurity challenges that organizations are likely to face in 2024? And I think we'll just keep going with you, Tony, if you want to pick up with that.
Yeah, why not? And look, I think some of the main cybersecurity challenges for 2023 are just continuously the trends from 2024. Are just continuously the trends from 2023 and beyond, or before that. And one of the things I would like to point out is this persisting shortage of skilled professionals, making it really tough for organizations to find qualified talent. Now, and that's not a secret to us in New Zealand and Australia, and I think we can all agree. But on the other hand, managing various security tools, it is another issue. It's way too complex, it's way too costly, and we all been faced to having to be across so many interfaces and platforms and configurations that we need to be in control of. But I think, I can't remember who said, Richard or Andrew, moving to this cybercrime as a service really amplifies the scale and sophistication of these attacks. And that's another challenge and trend for 2023. We're going to see a lot more extreme attacks in 2024 and moving towards 2025. That is going to pose challenges for pretty much all business sectors. In my opinion, as a result of these challenges, you need a proactive strategy. You need to collaborate and continuously adapt, and really to stay ahead of this evolving threat landscape.
Awesome, thank you, Tony. I'd actually, I think I'll pass on to Richard next, because I'd be interested to hear, because of Keeper Security's approach with privileged access management and password management. I'd be keen to hear what you guys are thinking are going to be the big trends for 2024 when it comes to cybersecurity.
Yeah, I think we continue to look at the mixture between the hybrid workforce and in office, right? I think somebody alluded to earlier that the criminals out there, they look for opportunity. They don't look for, in the past they want to looking for, they're looking for the top of the company. Nowadays, all they do is just send a spam email, right? And they can, or it's phishing attack. So we want to do is we want to make sure we have the ability to protect the infrastructure through the privileged access management. Who do you want to have control on what piece of software or devices? We have the tools for that. We also want to make sure that educating the workforce, right? Make sure that you can have all the security that you want in your organization, but if we make the product not user friendly, and we don't have a high adoption rate, sometimes it basically is not useful at all, right? So we want to make sure that we have the ability to create the platform that easy for people to use, and also educate them, and also want to make sure that they use it on a daily basis. I think that's the key here, is to make sure that we have a overall infrastructure use case for it, and we want to make sure that everybody adopt it.
Yeah, because what's that saying? The biggest security weakness is the users, right? So that's 100% correct, Richard. Making sure that if you can have the greatest product in the world, the greatest service in the world, but if no one uses it, it's no good. Andrew, anything to add?
For a start, I love Richard's product, because I think that it's so the whole concept of privileged access management and password management. It's such an issue that has been ripe for solving for many years. But the challenge to it is, as Richard pointed out, it's about making it accessible, making it simple, particularly in the SMB world, where small to medium businesses, they are about doing their accounting, their law firms, or their manufacturing. They need something that just works in with their existing workflows. To answer your question, I think, look, this year, 2024, we're going to see there's a significant increase in AI-based threats, as in artificial intelligence has been an amazing convergence, particularly the last 12 months. We've seen the sort of the combination of compute and Internet of Things producing huge amounts of data and large processing of data sources and neural networks, which have made it possible to both more quickly and rapidly create attack as a service type threats, ransomware service threats that are more advanced. But on the other side of it, as there is always good and bad, we've seen some great technology coming in the prevention space, because from a cybersecurity perspective, as Tony said, there's three aspects. There's the human aspect, which you need to get your people across what the threats look like, and they're often one of the biggest things that protect you. particularly in the, the world of phishing and business email threats and things like that. And then you've got the preventative technology, which stops these threats coming in. And a lot of the preventative technology, they're saying currently, I think 50% of email threats basically utilize AI to be stopped. As in, if you look at the SEGs and the API-based mail filtering technology that stops phishing threats, 50% of the threats that are being stopped are utilizing AI technology that is either specifically focused on an attack or has taken large volumes of data about how the tenant works or how the threat works in email to be able to stop them. So I think it's the human side, it's a preventing threat, and as Tony mentioned right from the start, one of the most important things, just look at it as a DR event. Have the plan. Somebody somewhere in the business, please have the plan, test the plan. If something goes wrong, basically if you're having a really bad day, this is what we need to do. We need to notify these people. We need to isolate these machines. We need to actually have a backup we can restore from it and test it. This stuff's really, really boring, but it's actually one of the most important pieces for SMB cybersecurity, in my opinion. That's me.
I lost my mouse cursor for a second, so I unmute myself. Appreciate the answer, guys. And Andrew, it's very timely that you mentioned AI, because what would any conversation in 2023 or 2024 be without talking about AI? So our next question, how has recent technological advancements such as AI influenced the threat landscape, and what implications do they have for cybersecurity? And Andrew, I don't think I've picked on you to go first yet, so we'll just we'll start with you.
Yeah, I feel like I almost leapt into the answer to that question in the last answer, didn't I? Well, I think, AI has made a lot of things happen a lot more quickly. So you've got AI happening in deep fake images. You've got AI happening in a lot of the actual programming. The developers love AI because it makes troubleshooting and programming so much quicker. It makes getting to an endpoint so much quicker. We launched a cybersecurity platform which we're bringing into ANZ called Guards, GUARDZ.co.nz. We launched that last week in Australia and New Zealand. And the funny thing is, talking to the founders, they started the company 18 months ago. They started developing this cybersecurity platform for SMB 18 months ago. And they cite that one of the reasons that they have been able to leapfrog so many other cybersecurity technologies and organizations out there is because when they started building it, AI was available to them. AI was a thing. So they were able to start the deep learning, the training, utilizing AI to get them to the market so much quicker with a solution that continues to evolve so much quicker. So, from our perspective, we see AI as a significant enabling technology, both for the protectors, but also for the bad actors.
Yeah,
it's interesting. It's interesting you've mentioned that, Andrew. I was just reading a news about the. It was an accountant that paid $25 million. I think it was a Hong Kong-based company. They paid $25 million, made a payment of $25 million after he had a video call with the CFO of the company. So definitely that's going to accelerate that. There's going to add a lot of complexity to already complex threat landscape.
And some of these are really targeted too. Like, we know that people look at, they have AI engines that mine LinkedIn, and they look for changes sort of when new employees start, and then they do a business email compromise targeted from an email from that new employee to the payroll officer, which they can see from the data and the footers and the tags of the role. And these are emails saying, "Oh, I've changed my bank account. Can you put my pay into this bank account?" And this is where the human side of it is really important, and the process side of it too, because most businesses, fortunately, that we deal with today, they have a secondary process. They have a multi-factor authentication for those sorts of requests where they won't make those changes without a phone call. But that's where I think the security awareness training, the human side of it comes in. It's really important for people within the business to be aware that this is how these things work. This is how we need to think about this in our processes, and DR and planning. I'll say it again. We don't actually have a product specifically for planning because it's such an important part of what everybody should be doing. So, sorry, I'll get off my high horse.
No, all good.
If,
Thank you very much,
if I
guys,
may
on this.
just, sorry,
Go
if I
ahead,
may
Tony.
just add one more thing that Andrew said. Look, going beyond AI being a taboo topic, I think we can all agree that the rise of generative AI in general has taken cybercrime to new heights. That's not a secret. The other problem I see, and it's something we've been challenged over the last few months, is the absence of regulation on clear AI usage policies really adds another challenge for business owners. And that's something that should be addressed. And especially, I'm not sure about Australia, but look, they in certain policies, I would say Australia is a bit ahead of New Zealand, but we need to catch up, especially in New Zealand, with having a more rigorous compliance and regulation around, not just AI in general, but cybersecurity.
Yeah. Is that like the NCSC framework side of things? Is that where you see that sort of policy and regulation coming in, or is it more the
wouldn't call it a framework, to be honest. I that's more like a guideline.
Guideline.
Probably I'm gonna have a lot of hate now, but look, it's compared to the rest of the world, and I've been in New Zealand for the last 10 years, by the way, and I've been involved in IT and cybersecurity in Europe and Australia and New Zealand. And look, the west you move towards maybe Central Europe and even the United States, we're way behind where anything that stands as a proper framework, but not just having one, but enforcing one. And that's another challenge that we have right now.
I think there's a cultural issue there, isn't there? Because, I think realistically, it's fairly similar on both sides of the ditch. What we find is that, we can go out as technical people. We have the solutions. That's the thing, between Keeper, Sophos, we're doing with Guards, with Avanan, these technology platforms. We have the solutions for these businesses. We have the solutions for MSPs to sell to these small to medium businesses. But over the last 12 months, we've seen a lot of challenge with MSPs who go to we say to them, okay, well, what's your challenge? And go, well, when we sold, our IT service to this customer, we kind of told them we'll do everything because they didn't understand it. We just said, look, it's all you can eat. We'll just charge you a fixed amount per user per month, and we'll do everything. And now that the challenges in cybersecurity have occurred, and funnily enough, the solutions do cost money, they struggle with being able to go back to their customers and articulate, yes, we said we'd do everything. And the customers go, well, you said you do everything, so you do cybersecurity. So like, oh, well, cybersecurity is a bit more complicated than that. So I think you're right in that I think there's a need, and we've definitely seen it in Australia. We've seen it in the US with a lot of the government policy making, the Privacy Act changes, actually Australia and New Zealand, but where there's been more of a push to, and mandatory data breach. If you actually do have an event, you need to tell everybody about it. So you're going to be shamed, but also, you need to take responsibility for your cybersecurity as a business. And I think that message is I think 2024 is the year where that message will hit home.
Hope.
Yeah.
Yes, I hope that 2024 will be the year that message hits home.
We'll see. I think everybody's been waiting for years for that. And Richard, it would be great if we could get your insights into this, being that you're in a different market. You might be seeing different things that we might in Australia and New Zealand might not have come across yet. So it'd be good to hear your thoughts on that.
Andrew touched a good point there. From the policy perspective, I'll stay away from that. From our technology perspective, we design our solution based on security, right? Whether AI makes sense, we're gonna put AI there, and if the AI part of the equation, we don't want to put it there. And without platform, more or less, we focus on security. How can we design a solution that protect everybody, right? Protect their assets, their passwords, their credentials, their anything that you think we can protect from the digital perspective. We have that solution for you. But for AI, and again, for our solution, one of the key point here is we do have to design our product around the security architecture we have, which is zero knowledge, zero trust. Meaning that nobody here keeper will have ability to know your password. No machine will be able to know your password, so it doesn't really make sense for us to put an AI if no machine is able to access your password, right? So we have AI in development to help speed up the development process, but from the product perspective, we don't want to think AI is the key point that we have to design around it. So that's something that we always evaluate to see where everything makes sense for us.
Awesome. Brilliant. Thank you, guys. So we'll move on to that because, again, AI is another one that we can be talking about forever. So I guess this one's going to come down to more of your solutions from Managed Protect, Sophos, and Keeper. So the next question is going to be, how does your solution address the threats our industry faces? So if you can just give us an idea of the approaches that you're going to be taking specifically within 2024, and share some information with the attendees.
Yeah. So
Sorry.
Go ahead.
You are 100% correct. I'm not doing a good job of emceeing. Richard, we'll kick off with you since you were the last one to talk. If you can just talk to us about.
We'll take it from here, Tyron. Don't worry about it.
I'll go grab a coffee. Thanks, Sonny.
We with Keeper, we started out with our password management solutions. We start from the ground up, but since 2022, we're heading toward the privileged access management. So we further improve our product. Right now, we have a very mature product, but we continue to add more features. We want to go and compete directly with other vendors out there. So that's something we're working on 23, 24, and beyond. But our PAM solution going to be really cool looking for the next quarter or two. I had a direct involvement in some of the development, so I see the product can continue to be improved. It protects you and your employee and everything that you wanted to protect from the security standpoint, cybersecurity standpoint. So that's something you're going to look for. Keeper in 2024 is a lot more in the PAM solutions, the privileged access solution.
Yeah, definitely, and it's definitely an area that needs a strong solution as well. And Andrew, you mentioned that you just launched Guards, and that's going to be an exciting product coming into 2024.
Oh, and talking about AI, right? It fits in really nicely. Like when Managed Protect started in 2008, we started off by bringing in email filtering, MP mail. So that was basically, today it's known as a SEG. It's a cloud gateway. And back then it was like, AI existed. AI has existed since the 50s, but in essence, it would look at messages and say, this is a virus because we've seen either the transport or the signature of the transport or the payload. This is spam because basically something like Spam Assassin would use a heuristic model to look at the pattern and go, this looks like spam. What we saw occur with threats moving into 2018, 2019, was that the threats became a lot more sophisticated. They were a lot more targeted. The phishing threats that we started seeing around then. And at the same time we saw these threats occurring, we saw a new way of blocking and stopping these advanced threats. And they basically involved, rather than just looking at the message in isolation and trying to work out whether it was good or bad, these new solutions, and then the technology we provide is called Avanan, And what Avanan does is it actually sits in the mailbox, in the tenancy, whether it's G Suite or Microsoft 365, and it uses AI to and machine learning to look at how a business communicates, how individual people communicate, and it looks at threats more from perspective of, okay, this message came from this email address, but it's linguistically different from most messages from this person, or it's been sent from different headers and at different times. So it uses a lot of AI to really determine what's a threat and what's not. So we're seeing a lot of it in our Avanan product, which is an anti-phishing product, a best-of-breed anti-phishing product. The Guards product has been built from ground up using AI, and what that's meant is and Guards is a cybersecurity platform, so it's designed totally for small and medium businesses. And it's funny, there's been a lot of talk about, in Australia they talk about Essential 8, and in NZ it's the NCSC frameworks and things. But what Guards did is they looked at a facts-based approach. They looked at insurance claims for SMBs for the last 2 years and said, how have businesses been compromised in the small and medium business sector? And then they built a platform specifically where you could have one pane of glass and see all of your email threats, your endpoint threats, your tenancy threats, cybersecurity posture, tenant posture, all in one place. And what Guards have done is they've built a platform that continues to manage the remediation, manage the detection, using very, very strong AI engines and specific AI engines for different types of threats as well. So, and one of the really, really simple applications we see of AI, which is the chat GPT of Guards. It's basically one of the things it does really well is with the security awareness training component, phishing simulations. It actually uses the same sort of technology that the bad actors use. It actually generates phishing simulations on the fly. So you tell it, I want to generate a phishing simulation which is targeted at this industry, at this sort of user, and it will use its knowledge to build an email specifically for that target. So we're seeing AI being used in so many different areas, as well as increased rate of development, but I suppose very importantly in combating the use of AI in the criminal element too.
Awesome, Andrew. Thank you for that. And Tony, with Sophos being one of the world's largest security vendors and having such a broad range of products, I think you could talk forever about all of the all of the angles and that they'd be able to protect somebody from. But if you can just give us a bit of a rundown on what Sophos has been doing and anything that you might be able to share with us coming in 2024.
Thanks for that. I'll try to stay high level, but even before that, Andrew, by the way, I would like to see that phish simulation AI generated based on context. I'm really interested to see a phishing, testing phishing generated by an AI, and I like to see
Tony, not a problem. If you go to guards.co.nz, guardz.co.nz, you can sign up for a free trial. Go on there, have a play. We can organize some training for you, some onboarding, some one-on-one. Please feel free to visit.
Fair enough. I'll do that, and then I'll provide some feedback.
Look,
to just go back to your question, Tyron, and our go-to-market strategy is to deliver cybersecurity as a service, and making it really easily and accessible for even scalable to organization of any size, and that is the main goal and go-to-market strategy for Sophos. And as a foundation for cybersecurity as a service, we developed a cloud-based unified platform that really streamlines the customer's daily IT and security operations. That's the place where you can move away from just product management to jump in the driver's seat and drive your security. And really, Sophos Central serves as both as a centralized hub to manage all your Sophos security products, and really allow customers and partners, of course, to efficiently manage all that in one place. Now, additionally, Sophos Central really seamlessly integrates telemetry from a wide range of other cybersecurity vendors, providing a comprehensive coverage in one place. Now, with Software Central, again, as I did mention, the important part is to shift from product management to robust security operation, and that is the goal. And in essence, we offer a very holistic solution, including a 24/7 SOC as a service, really to tackle that those challenges, as I've mentioned before, that we have in today's cybersecurity landscape, navigating a complex threat landscape, addressing the scarcity of cybersecurity skills that we've all agreed on, and of course, why not streamlining the management of multiple tools in one place. And that's roughly, in a nutshell, what we focus on and the way we provide our products and services.
That is really a trend for 2024 too, isn't it, Tony? As in more of this, and you talked earlier about how MSPs have multiple products they need to manage now. And I think 2024, there's been a realization that many of the platform vendors are now trying to really say, okay, well, we'll try to consolidate this into a single pane of glass so that you can better manage, you have better visibility. Basically, you can be more efficient and do your job better.
That's exactly what we focus, not just ingest that telemetry, but how you operationalize that data. How do you operate on the data? And of course, when we go back to the AI and other tools, leveraging that and contextualizing and accelerating how you as a customer and your partner, and of course, why not having the additional layer as a SOC, as a service on top, and accelerate the way you respond to those threats.
Yeah, because a lot of these guys, they're small businesses themselves, these MSPs, many of them, and it's a challenge to be able to keep up. And things like SOC as a service, single platform for cybersecurity, that's, I think, really the way that a lot of these guys need to go if they want to increase their profitability and deliver a cybersecurity solution to their customers that's cost effective and is functional for them as a business as well.
That's spot on. And in case it wasn't obvious from the high level overview I've provided, one of the main goal was to address the problem of rip and replace. No one wants to remove their investments and just put another one just because you're promising the holy grail of cybersecurity. And the goal was to be able to overlay on top of what you've already invested in and make use of that. And that's exactly what Software Central is.
Awesome. No, thank you very much, guys. And I have to be mindful of time because we've actually been having such a great conversation. We might have to cut a couple of our questions shy. So we're 10 minutes to 12. So I'll open up the floor to Q&A. If anybody wants to throw in any questions to any of our panelists, please feel free to do that now. Just remember, if you want to ask a specific panelist a question, make sure you just tell us who you're going to be addressing. But throw those questions in. We'll cover those off. But I'll give you guys a minute or two just to see if anybody has any questions they want to ask.
Surely we didn't do that good a job at explaining everything.
You might have covered everything, and no one has anything they want to ask. But I'm sure there's going to be some questions that'll come through.
We did this once in a webinar and we didn't get any questions. And then we realized after the webinar that we didn't actually turn on the Q&A.
I think we tested it beforehand. I think it's going to work.
I can see one of the questions, if I may, if I'd like to take that question, and it's let me just read it. Cybersecurity is an ongoing investment. Where do you see the best invest client cybersecurity budget? Okay, look, I think that's a very good point. How do you spend money when it comes to cybersecurity? And that's I think that we can all agree in this call that that's a very interesting topic because everyone wants to sell stuff, wants to sell products, wants to sell services. But I would actually go back a bit and try to understand, leverage maybe a couple frameworks. Start with one, ISO 27001, NIST, and really assess that where the business sits and how to qualify risk to the business, because it doesn't translate equally to all business sectors, and that's very important. I would also advise that you should be moving and truly understand how adversary operates, and that's something that is really close to my heart. And of course, I want to mention that, and look at frameworks at the MITRE framework. And if you start correlating that information together, it really understand the threat landscape, understand the business resilience, and then try to map that against the overall attack surface of your business and your security posture. It really start putting the puzzle together and start to understand where you should spend money that is compelling for the threats you're going to fight. And I think it's a good metric to start using against how you spend money and how compelling that investment is.
I think also, like, for organizations, particularly one of the things that we find is that frameworks work very well for critical services, enterprise, government. But once you move into that SMB space, a lot of it comes down to just increasing the cybersecurity hygiene for a lot of these businesses. They're at 10. If we can get them up to like 30 or 40, at least they're on an easy target. And I think, the first step is, for a lot of these MSPs, is to start having those discussions with their customers. And the first step can just be the DR planning. If you start with the DR planning, say, okay, what are we going to do? Let's picture a cybersecurity event, and this is what happens. What's the process going to be? What are we going to do? And having that discussion with your customers creates a process where you then sort of go, well, hold on, how strong are our backups? Do we test our backups? How strong is the tenant cyber security posture? And from our perspective, we see that discussion is the starting point. And then the next point is, let's take a baseline. Let's understand and mutually understand between the customer and the MSP. Let's understand what the platform looks like right now. How secure, do you have MFA on all your users? Do you have, is all of your OneDrive and SharePoint files visible to the outside world? These are simple things for many SMBs that it's easier not to think about it. It's easier to keep on going on your day-to-day business. But we know statistically, a lot of these guys are at risk of losing not only potentially a lot of money and reputational damage, but as we started this whole conversation, they're putting their entire business at risk. And if the MSP is not, if their trusted advisor, if their MSP is not going to put their hand up and say, hey, we need to have a discussion about this, then who is? And the answer is probably another MSP, which is your competitor.
Or you're going to learn it the hard way and having to respond to a real incident.
Yeah. We do have some more questions. Oh, sorry, guys, I didn't mean to talk over you right there. We do have some other questions coming in, so I just want to get to those if we can. So one question we had is, true passwordless logins are going to require new tools to manage. What impacts on managing devices, users, /users do you see this bringing? And I think this is probably going to be a good question for Richard to kick off.
Yeah, absolutely. For Keeper, we already start implementing passwordless login. We already have integration with a number of passwordless company and vendor out there. So we on top of that, we also provide a pass key. That's another new technology that we're currently working on that. So that's also available. But yeah, we always continue to look ahead and what technology, what feature that the customer is looking for and what's available out there. So with the passwordless, we already have that in Keeper environment.
And very exciting, of course. I know passwordless is a big trend at the moment, people moving to passwordless logins. So that's going to be some exciting things to see. Another question we have coming through is, what are the simplest ways to protect an organization in your opinion? And we'll kick off with Tony quickly.
Cool. Look, I think go back to the basics. Understand what you have. Start, making sure you truly understand your whole estate with everything that you've deployed and configured and invested in, all the security product, all your assets, all the values, and start mapping this against, certain risk. Understand how that poses a risk to the business, and eventually, if you start in that place, why not pick up on one? I think Andrew mentioned today, maybe choosing one of these frameworks is a bit too much for an SMB company. But look, you're not alone. There's certain products and websites, and even us as a vendor, we do provide an assessment that we can help you out with, like a NIST assessment, and then try to understand at a very high level. It's a pretty agnostic, nothing to do with how that really relates to us in the first place, and really understand the overall security posture, and start small. Don't. I actually love I've seen this in a webinar a couple of days ago. Don't let the perfect be the enemy of good enough. Although in the past I did hated that good enough kind of saying, but I think it's a valid point. If you trying to be all over the places and you don't do anything, that's definitely a lot worse than just, again, don't let the perfect be the enemy of good enough. Start small and then build up from there.
Yeah, every journey starts with one footstep, right? And I think perfection is the enemy of progression. I think they say. But the difficulty is in technology, so many of us are perfectionists. We want it to be exactly right. I think the assessment's a great starting point. Know what you've got, set a baseline. We have, like within the Managed Protect product, so we have a product called MP Audit, which is a full Essential 8 CIS-based audit program, which we operate for partners. But also within the Guards tool, there is actually a full prospecting report, which is free, and it actually goes and you can run it on all of your customers, and it provides basically an external scan of the attack surface, like a hacker would do. And basically it looks at what misconfigurations there are, what vulnerabilities there are, what open ports, and it looks at as an external scan, and it produces this beautiful report, which you can fully brand as your MSP, and you can use that as a base to sit down with your customer and say, okay, we've done the scan. These are the things we need to talk about. But I think, I agree with Tony 100%. It's all about starting the journey, starting the discussion. If you don't start the discussion, then none of us make any progress.
Awesome, thank you, Andrew. And Richard, in your opinion, what's the simplest way somebody can protect theirs or their client's business?
I think they have to make some kind of assessment. They have to assess what they want to, we from our perspective, we would like to protect everybody, but in a sense that may not be possible. I think it's going to start from planning, have a plan, do assessment, look at the vulnerabilities in the environment. I think from beginning of this conversation, I talk about the hybrid workforce environment where you have a lot of people work remotely. So you might make sure that you can protect them first. The IT folk, people try to focus on that, but I think most of the IT, they know what they do already. So us look at the overall, do an assessment, where you want to start first, protect, just I guess do the assessment and then start with the plan and then go from there.
Awesome. Well, I think that's going to be our webinar for today. Thank you guys so much, Tony, Richard, Andrew. Appreciate your time, appreciate your insights. Thank you very much. If anybody else has any other questions, please feel free to direct those through us. We're happy to talk to the guys and run any questions by them. So depending on which product you're interested, it's keeper@bluechipit.co.nz. Sophos at bluechipit.co.nz, and manageprotect@bluechipit.co.nz. I haven't forgotten you, Andrew.
or guards.co.nz.
Guards, yes, guards with a Z at .co.nz.
Guards with a Z. Beautiful.
But
Or
thank
just
you
email
guys very much.
Tyron.
Or just email me, Tyron, Tyron at bluechipit.co.nz. But again, thank you guys very much for joining the webinar. Thank you all for attending, and we hope to see you on our next one.
Thanks, everyone.
Tyron, thank you for having
Thank
us.
you very much.
Appreciate
Okay.
it. Take care.